Hey everyone, how's it going? Today I wanted to do a quick video explaining why I believe John's vision in Revelation 19 is actually describing events in Revelation 20. Now, not all of it, but just the very last, really the last three verses. And I'll explain why I think this. So when we go to, here's how I see actually Revelation. Like, I don't see it's always chronological. I think sometimes it folds. And sometimes when John gets visions, he sees visions that are further out into the future, right? And so each time he starts a new topic, and when he says and I saw it doesn't have to be chronological. It could be like a vision that's farther into the future, and I really believe that that's what's happening here in Revelation 19, and I'll go ahead and prove it. So most of Revelation 19 though happened. Like, we know this is talking about Jezebel here, the judgment, and then we're talking the marriage supper of the Lamb. And then, of course, yeah, we go down here. We go down to verse 11. And I saw heaven open, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. This is Jesus Christ, and this is describing the wrath of God, his second coming, and things like that. So this continues to go down here. Then it's saying, and the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, white and clean. This is referencing the glorified saints. These armies, his armies, are the glorified saints. And then, yeah, it's describing the wrath of God here. And then, yeah, so here is where it gets interesting, though. Okay, so Revelation 17, this is describing at the end of the wrath, right? The supper of the Lord, of the great God, and the fowls that fly in the midst of the earth, midst of heaven. I think these fowls are actually like demons, right? So I think that these, because remember I made another video of how I think demons are likened unto birds. So there's just another evidence there. And so basically they're feasting on these, on all of them who were killed in from God's wrath at the end of God's wrath, right? I think that that's what's being described here. So they're eating like the flesh of these people who were killed, and so yeah, these are demons here. So that's all describing the wrath. Now Revelation 19, I believe that this is fast forwarding into the future. I think here in Revelation 19, I think that he's referencing Revelation 20 events in this vision. So, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gather together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. This sounds exactly like Gog and Magog, and you know what? It has to be, because look, it wouldn't make sense that if this is the end, this is the wrath of God, this is done. We know from the other events of like other verses like in Revelation that after this it's not like they're coming back then before the millennial kingdom and then making war, right? We know that this is the end of the wrath of God. The kingdom begins, right? Second coming, Jesus begins his kingdom. And then there's like the millennial kingdom, and then there's the little season. So it wouldn't make sense that this would be chronological, right? Like if this is all done, like if this is they're eating, like the demons are eating the people who were killed from the wrath, this is finished, right? So it wouldn't make sense that now this is talking about the same event here. So that's why I think this is fast forwarding into the little season, the events of Revelation 20, and it sounds exactly like Gog and Magog, right? Revelation 19 verse 19 says, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies, right? Satan and his armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army, right? So Satan and his armies, Gog and Magog, coming against Christ and his glorified saints, right? This is Gog and Magog here. I really see that. I don't know about you guys, but that makes so much sense, right? And because it wouldn't fit in chronologically with the verses before, so I see this being a reference to the future. And then, of course, verse 20 says, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped the beast. And these were both cast alive into the lake of fire, burning with brimstone. This is at the final judgment, the great white throne judgment at the end that didn't happen yet, right? So that would make sense, right? When the resurrection of the dead happens, the great white throne judgment, they will be thrown into the lake of fire that God produces when he blows fire down on the earth in Revelation 20. That's the lake of fire. And then when the resurrection happens, the judgment of the wicked, the great white throne judgment, this happens, right? They're cast into the lake of fire. And then, of course, the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which the sword proceedeth out of his mouth. And the fowls were filled with their flesh. Is talking about the rest of the wicked, right? The rest of the dead, which sword proceeded out of his mouth. And the fowls were filled with their flesh. I see this as dual prophecy. So this happened already at the end of the wrath of God. So when the fowls, meaning the demons, were feeding off the flesh of these dead people, of these people who were destroyed by the wrath of God. And so the same thing, the rest, like these other people who are destroyed at the end of the little season, they will also, the fowls, like the demons, will also feast on their flesh, right? So that, I see that as dual prophecy here. But yeah, to me, this makes so much sense, right? Especially verse 19. This sounds exactly like Gog and Magog. So I think that this is a reference to that event in Revelation. And notice here it says when they were both cast into a lake of fire, and so you can see here when John saw this vision, he hasn't received the vision of Revelation 20 yet when he had this vision, right? So it was still very vague for him. That's why it says a lake of fire, not the lake of fire, which we know the lake of fire in Revelation 20 what it is, when God pours down the fire on the earth, right? That produces the lake of fire, and then that happens. But this vision was before that, before we understood that, and that's why it's vague. It says into a lake of fire. He was looking into the future, into the events of at the end of the little season here. So that's the way that I see it. It just seems to make a lot of sense to me, but let me know what you guys think. All right, thanks guys. God bless.